Good evening. What's going on, JDib? Princess Lucram Chan. When did you become a princess? Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of painting later tonight. But I'm going to start off with, I got some new models in from a couple of the party members. And we're going to put some supports on them and get them ready to printed. Get them ready to print. I need to move my mic over. That's better. The audio levels sound okay? We're trying something new with the music tonight, so we'll see how that works out. Alright, so we have three guys to support. We have a Wood Elf Ranger, and we have a, which one is this? This is the the QB Tiefling. Not Turfling. Tiefling, what was he? This one's a Tiefling Sorcerer. Thank you, Lucram. And what was the other one? Let me check my chat log real quick. You know what? Let's just make him a Tiefling QB. You'll see why here in a minute. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is we need to slice these. Well, actually, we need to put some supports on them. I use Precious Slicer for this. And let's go ahead and scooch these guys over to the side. And I'm going to go to my manufacturing folder. Photon. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so let's grab the Wood Elf Ranger first. Oh, that's a neat guy. Got him on a hex base, huh? I normally go for these circular bases. So the first thing we want to do is check that if he's to scale. He probably is because it's a Hero Forge mini. And this is one of the first 3D Hero Forge minis that I printed, and his name's Fang. And I always use him for scaling. I call the file Fang for scale. So yeah, he looks pretty good. Normally I don't have to do too much with him if it's a Hero Forge mini though. Alright, so we gotta get some supports on here. So let's flip him around. Let's go back 45 degrees, see how that does. This actually looks like it's gonna be pretty good. His chin might be an issue. Yeah, I think his chin is gonna be an issue. Let's go back a little bit. Alright, let's drop some supports on him. I like to auto-generate supports. I do not have a Discord add-on turned on. Why do you ask? Is it doing something on your end? Yeah, I don't know what that is. That popped up on my last stream too. I'm not sure what it is. I was gonna look into the social growth Discord and see what it is. I figured it was just some automated stuff that Twitch does. Alright. So let's see how this looks. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop this all the way down, and we're just looking for islands. There we go. So if you see right here, they expect that whole big sliver to hang off on this one side, and when it pulls away from the plate, when it's 3D printing, it's just going to bend that and snap it off. So we're going to have to add some supports onto the bottom. So let's swap back. Yeah. So I think what we'll do is just grab these ones here. Some more supports down here. It doesn't matter too much if you borrow from the other places. The auto-generated ones, they're not too incredibly smart on big flat areas. Tiefling Warlock, that was the other one. Thank you. Under here, and then we'll just space these ones out a little bit. I'll drop a couple up here for extra support. There we go. So now that's going to build these little fingers up and grab onto the base. Alright, let's go back into the slicer view. See, there we go. Now we got some supports that are going to hold that. And we just want to keep our eyes peeled for any like orange dots that just show up out of nowhere that these supports aren't touching. Sometimes the cuffs, ooh, what was that? Look at that, there we go. I need some along there. Didn't even think about that. That should be good enough. Sometimes you have some issues around the cuffs of the boots. See, like that? See how they like poke out? That's a good enough foundation. Same with that. Yeah, that one's got a good one. These supports start off super thick, and then once they kind of taper towards the end, so you can kind of see when they're coming close. Like this one here is starting to get thinner. It's starting to get close to a support. Oh, look at that. That probably needs one there. It's going to be right there. Nope. It's on the other side. We got something happening over here soon. Yep, there you go. I think this one's going to be pretty good, y'all. No, got a couple of ridges right there. Yep, fingers. Ugh. Bane of my existence. And on these ones, if you get it too big, you can end up like breaking into the model, and when you snap it off, it just messes things up. So sometimes I like to drop the diameter of the head down a little bit. Let me know if I miss any. If you catch any that I don't see. Normally I go through this 2 or 3 times. I'm kind of feeling pretty confident about this one. There isn't a lot of crazy kookiness on this model. Chainmail's the worst. When the model's tipped back and it has like chain link on the back of the shirt or the pants. And it's like all these little divots. Doop, 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 doop. It's the worst. And we got a bunch of stuff going on over here. Probably the other fingers. Yeah. Let's just clean that up. There we go. Any of you guys ever mess with 3D printers and slicing before? So that's a bit of a technical question. A lot of it has to do with, like, see how I'm slicing it right here? Each of these parts where it's cut off in orange is going to be a physical layer. When you, the way 3D printing works is that it creates one layer at a time like a cake and stacks it on top of each other. I find that if you have the model straight up and down, I have printed some straight up and down, it just works out best, that you get these lines. When the lines are stacked on top of each other, they're not perfect. It's kind of like my fingers, where it'll have like a little bit of a rounded gap on the edge. And when they're directly up and down, sometimes you can get layer lines in between them. When you cock it at an angle, for some reason it tends to hide it. And it's just not as prevalent. Also, the way that bodies are posed like if I go like this, if you turn him straight, the way, it's just like kind of experience, but the way that they're posed will create a lot of overhangs. And you want, like overhangs are fine, like right here on the arm and right here, but what you don't want are like overhangs that are hanging over the body. So like this chin here, because you need supports to get out to it, and supports won't stick to the chest. Like if it's big enough, it'll stick down here, but that short of a distance. So it's all about, I get the best default success out of tipping it back 45-ish degrees. But there's some that I've had to like lay almost straight back to get supports into the proper places. And some of them you can print standing straight up. I've actually seen some models that are designed to be printed without supports if they're straight up and down. And they look okay, but the 45-degree angle, it tends to work best. Plus, I've also noticed, this might just be my 3D printer, but flat surfaces, like the bottom of this base here is just this big flat hexagon. They have like all the little supports sticking up on the bottom, and when it's kind of weird because this thing is actually going to be flipped upside down. It's going to be printed like this. And up on top, that's little hex grid, or this little square grid up here, that's going to be this metal plate, and it's going to sink down into the resin, which is liquid, and then it's going to flash a light that's going to cure that pink, that layer, and then it's going to pull it up. Well, when it pulls it up, it's liquid, so it's going to create a suction, and if you like open the printer and listen to it, it goes... and then it lets resin fill in, it squishes back down, and then cures the next layer, and then pops back up. You have to be mindful of that pop. If you have a big flat surface, it will create a lot of suction and can just peel it off. Like that's a lot of force. If it's a whole bunch of little fingers, like little areas, it's a bunch of little pops, and you don't hear it so much, and it doesn't create a lot of force. So if you distribute that energy out across a bunch of little stuff, you don't have as much tug and a possibility of like breaking a support. That's kind of the reason why. Also, if you were to like lay these flat on the build plate, you have to get it off. Like it's stuck on there. Right now, the thing that sticks to it is this big green support raft that all the supports grow off of. And if you print the model directly on there, you kind of have to chip it with like a spatula or like a chisel or something to get it off, and that'll chip up the edges. So normally I print with this little raft underneath here so that it gets chipped off, and it's also like a solid piece, so it'll flex a little bit. Excuse me, I just had to sneeze. So that's the reason why it just tends to look better, is really the main reason, and the appendages of the model tend to work better. Monsters is another story. Monsters, you just kind of gotta, because their bodies are all weird, you kind of gotta fiddle with them and get them in the right spot. A lot of times, like if you have a chin like this, you can, instead of tilting it back, you can tilt it back a little bit and then tilt it to the side, and that'll get room for the chin to like get out so that a support can come up. But this one's worked out pretty well, pretty okay. Good question. All right, he's looking good. I've never played a wood elf. I don't know if I've ever had a wood elf in a party before. I've had some high elves before. Uh-oh, where'd my water go? I think I neglected to bring my water. I've had some high elves before, but never a wood elf. Alright, well, let's export. No. Export with the supports. Wood elf ranger, and I just like to put sup for supported at the end, because I like to keep the original model. And we'll just go ahead and delete him. And then we'll grab the Tiefling... Okay, so we'll do the Tiefling Warlock last, because it's kind of funny. and I love it. It's no diss, but it's just kind of, I think it's amazing and wonderful. So this, I don't know her name. I don't know if Lizzie has named her yet, but this is the Tiefling Sorcerer, and Lizzie wanted her to have two tails, so she's got like a dagger in one. Tieflings normally don't have two tails, but you know, I mean, they're half demons, and half demons aren't real, so why not? So we're gonna go ahead and do this one. Well, I'll just go ahead, since we're already talking about it. So the thing I made this Tiefling Kibi is because they wanted him to have 9 tails. So he's like literally the Tiefling QB of Japanese mythology. And I think that's amazing. And I'm probably going to tie that into his patron. He's going to get all Naruto. Now this cape here could be an issue, and really actually more an issue than the cape is going to be this hand in the back and this braid, because see, those are floating over the rest of the body, that hand in particular. It's actually good if you notice here that the hand is clipping into the clothes a little bit. And what that means is that when it's coming up from the bottom, it's going to print the clothes, and then it's just going to go right into the hand. So these fingers might get a little wobbly, but if we angle it right, it should just print straight up the arm, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So we might actually be a-okay with this one. So let's go ahead and spin her around. I like to spin it this way just because of the way that it outputs the model. Let's go back a full 45 degrees. Yeah, let's just see how that looks. I think we're going to have to bring it up a little bit. Now, when there's a potentially problem area on the body, I don't build up the supports on the bottom. I like to just give it a good inspection first, because I have run into an issue where you end up having an unsolvable puzzle. You get halfway up, and there's just not a good way to put the supports, and you end up having to rotate the model. Once you rotate the model, it blows out all of your supports and re-auto supports them. So it's like you don't want to waste 10 minutes fixing the supports on the bottom just to get up to the top and have to do it all over again. So let's just run through this real quick. So the base looks okay. That's a nice straight start there. That's pretty simple. So here's the cape and the two tails. Here's the foot that's kind of hanging off the side. And there's the fingers. That's what we care about right there. So we got the two there, and then it goes right into the cape. There is some weirdness. I think I'm going to tip her forward a little bit. I think it'll be cleaner. Only a half druid, a half wood elf, half druid. She doesn't get her full class. Have a 1 wood elf and a half wood elf. I think it's just a half elf druid. They don't necessarily make a distinction of whether it's a high elf or a wood elf, or, but I guess you could, but it, like, mechanically it wouldn't make sense. It would just be more of a story thing. You know what? We might actually go forward a little bit more. I'm really digging this music. Oh snap, I need to put the music text on this overlay. Bear with me a second. There we go. I had it in the other overlays, but I forgot that that doesn't move over. Yeah, Wood and High Elf are subraces. Wood and High Elf are both subraces of just elves, and I believe Drow are also a subrace of elf. Like, I don't think they're considered their own race. All right, let's take a look at these. I think this is the one. Oh, interesting. D&D Beyond's a great tool. It's good for simplifying. It's what I use in my work game. I want another one on the bottom there. I think it's crucial to have good supports at the very, very beginning, because these supports that are at the base of the model like that, they're going to be tugged on the whole time that the model is printed. I've actually had some that didn't have enough supports at the base down here like this, and it eventually like snapped off halfway up just because they got tugged on and tugged on and tugged on, and eventually it popped the supports loose, and then the model just kind of floated around and got crushed. So if Lizzie made you guys character sheets in D&D Beyond, I guess you're not going to be using the pre-generated character sheets then, which is fine. All right, that's better. See, round bases are just nice and smooth. I like round bases. That is a problem right there. That is way too close. Drat. And that's a big deal too. That's the beginning of the cape. Ding. We're gonna have to go back a little bit more. Unless I can move that. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. That's super close. Yeah, that's not gonna grab it. We'll just have to finagle the... Yes. Oh no. I'm gonna have to go back even more. Guys using the pre-made ones? Okay. That's cool. I was telling Lizzie that, I mean, making your own character is fun and great, and I actually prefer to do that, but it's kind of one of those things. It's like, it's fun to do once you know how to do it, but doing it the first time is a bit of a pain. Oh no, the back of her boot. This one is turning into a problematic problem. We might have to go back even further. Unless we can rotate her to the side. That is irritating. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Tiefling Sorcerer. We're just going to cut her base off. Right there. Keep the upper and lower part, and we'll just cut it in half. Why are you doing that together? There we go. And then we'll export this, and we'll call it base. There we go. This is the way I normally do it, because I typically don't print Hero Forge minis. I normally just pull something off a Thingiverse. And I like to print my own bases. Resin is more expensive than filament, and let's go like that. Yeah. Nope. Let's go back forward a little bit. Right there. Resins are more expensive than filament, and so I print my bases in filament. They look like this. Oop. Kind of looks like Lego plastic. And then when I glue them to it, looks like that. It's cheaper. And that way the bases kind of cause all those problems when you circumvent that. Because I want to print more minis, and so I don't want to use my resin on bases. Alright, let's see how this one goes. How long have we been going? What's our 36 minutes? It's taken a little longer than expected. So let's talk about Tieflings. Tieflings are pretty rad. They're probably my favorite race. I've played 2 Tieflings so far, and I need something right there in the middle. They're a bit of like social outcasts. I remember something being in the I think it was the Player's Handbook, talking about how there's like a superstition around Tieflings. I don't have commands, Lucrom, so that probably isn't going to work. But there's like a superstition around Tieflings, how if you see one, like 1's an oddity, 2's a conspiracy, and 3's a curse, is the saying. And that they're kind of seen as bad luck to be around. And that's kind of why I like them. I kind of like playing the socially oppressed character, you know, who kind of has to prove their worth through their deeds, and you know, try to sway the townspeople into realizing that yeah, they are half demon, but I mean they were kind of born that way, and they didn't really have any say in the matter. And I kind of think that's a neat storytelling concept. Because the whole thing about Tieflings is it isn't necessarily, yeah, I'm not sure what the Twitch commands are. is that tieflings, it doesn't necessarily mean like your mom was a human and your dad was a demon. It could be that there was a pact in a village or like a people group a long time ago with a demon, and now like demonic blood flows in your family, and you just kind of inherit it. It doesn't have to. Look, we got an island right there. It doesn't have to mean. Oh, dang it! I lost it. It doesn't mean that it's like it was even directly your fault, or that you directly had anything to do with it. Over a little bit more. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly where it is on the model. That's being a problem. I blame Lizzie getting crazy with her minis pose. Minis are fun. They're a lot of work though, but they are a lot of fun. I think we got fingers to deal with over here. One there. It's just the last finger. Minis can get very cumbersome though, especially when you once you get one mini, it kind of feels like you have to have minis for the rest of everything, and that is a big huge rabbit hole to fall down. I am actually diving down that rabbit hole though. I currently have a project where I'm trying to print at least one mini of every monster in the entire monster manual, and I'm about, oh goodness, how far am I? Let me look it up real quick. I have a spreadsheet. I'm that much of a nerd, if you don't mind me digressing. Yeah, it's super chill and it's super fun, and it takes a long time. So this is my spreadsheet, and this is the monster manual, and so all of these ones in the done column I have finished pretty much. But I use like something like an air elemental. I've got it printed and painted and primed, but I don't have it painted yet. So there's a lot. And that's 451 in the monster manual, and I have 45 completely done. Wait, no, I have 79 completely done. 45 are what I call subbed, which means it's like if you have a wolf and you have a snow wolf, well, you can just use a wolf to act as a snow wolf. Or if you have like a black bear and then there's a brown bear, well, you could just use your black bear as a brown bear too. So like that means I have 79 that are completely done, 236 that are completely painted. So the reason that there's a big difference here is because the done is like for the monster category, like orc, but I have like 13 orcs that I made because I made like a whole party of them. And goblins, I have like 12 goblins because you want to run into a big bunch of goblins. You're not going to just have one goblin sitting out there. So 236 is the number I actually have painted and like done. And then this is like the number of categories of monsters in the monster manual. And then an extra 45 that I'm able to use my existing minis with. So yeah, 281 out of like 400, and I guess if you come all the way down here, almost 500. So I'm almost halfway-ish. No, wait, no. No, that would be the 79 plus the 45. What's 79 plus 45? 124 out of 500. So I got a ways to go. But I'm not in a rush. I'm enjoying the journey. Yeah, I've been tinkering on that spreadsheet for a while. I also have here, we'll nerd out a fuzz more. I also put more books because there's more monster manuals. The second one is Volo's Guide to Monsters, and then there's Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. And then I started like going through the adventures, like the Lost Mines of Phandelver, Dragons of Icespire Peak, Curse's Shroud, Baldur's Gate, to see if I have enough minis to run that entire game. So there's mild spoilers in there of the kind of monsters you'll run across in certain adventures. But the idea was I wanted to have a box with all the minis in it, and you could just be like, bam, let's play this adventure, and we got all the minis right there. So that's the goal. Looks like the rest of her is shaping up as long as there's no problems around the chin. There's the chin. Yeah, I think we're good. Nice. So we'll go ahead and export her. Tiefling Sorcerer. So. And we'll just do her base real quick. Yeah, we're gonna need more than that, Chief. That's not even... It's not even a shadow of Peter Pan. Now you don't need too incredibly many on these, because you're not going to have the weight tugging on it from the whole model up above. But you do want a few more. That's about good. Ew, I don't want them poking off the bottom like that. That's going to give me an ugly edge. So let's pull them in a little bit. Pull them in a little bit more. And the nice thing about supporting these minis, once you have them supported, you just drop them in the printer and you can print another one. So like if you guys drop your mini on the floor, like I don't even need to do this again. I can just grab this file and drop it in there and print off another one. Like I could print off 15 and make an army of them, which is pretty cool. Base sup. Lizzie decided to name her girl Asteria. Also, no, I know. No, I do not like Excel. I hate Excel. If you notice, I'm on a Mac, and this is numbers. It's a lot cleaner, and it works better with my brain. I like spreadsheets, but I do not like Excel. Alright, let's do the cat of nine tails. Oof. Alright, now this is a little bit of a problem. It might not be a problem, but we might have to do, because there is an entire flat surface down here right on top of this base, and I can't cut the base off because the tail goes below it. It'll do a cross section and it'll cut that tail off. Another reason why I like to tip them 45 degrees back is because if you tip them forward, you don't want supports on their faces, because once they break off, it's going to leave a weird little pock mark that you normally have to sand down. So you want, if they're tipped back, it's cleaner because it's on the upside. I thought hysteria was when you get all crazy and you get hysterical. Alright, well, let's just see what it does. Rip. I love Max, but I honestly don't pay for them because my work gets it, like, buys it for me. I need it for work. So it's kind of a blessing. I take that back. I would probably still save up and buy a Mac if I needed to. But spreadsheets are cool. Spreadsheets are rad. I just don't like the interface of Microsoft's Office products. They're clunky to me. But they're very functional. And that's the thing, is that they err on the side of option heavy. And when you make software that's option heavy, the user interface suffers, and like the simplicity suffers. So it's like you either have lots of options and very little ease of use, or you have lots of ease of use and less options. Oh, that's not gonna be good. Well, let's demo it. Let's see what it looks like. Goddess of Dreams. Interesting. Well, the tails are actually turning out to be okay. There's the base. So far, so good. Ooh, that's problematic. That's too much flex. Find the stars, Goddess of Dreams. Sorry, Chris is chatting at me on Discord. Looks like he has settled on his character. He's been working on it in Hero Forge. Hello, Commander Root. I need to get some sort of notifications. Some stuff set up for when people join chat. I think we're in the clear. I think this is okay. Kind of surprised. Oh, we got something there. That might be a problem. I think that's going to be workable, actually. I can probably finagle it. Yeah, see, it put the support there. It just didn't have enough room to generate it. Sometimes you can just scooch them off to the side enough to make it work. Yeah, there we go. I mean, nobody ever said he was a fan or not, or they were a fan or not. I don't know. Is fake fan a thing? I'm not privy to a lot of Twitch culture yet. Kind of noobing this up. But I'm here to learn. And paint. And do all sorts of D&D stuff. I was thinking about different things to do on here. This is just the second stream I've done, and the first one was mostly painting. But I was thinking about kind of just doing like any of my DM prep. Like, would you guys be interested in seeing me like how I do my session prep, notes and things of that nature? Or like when I make terrain or a specific set piece. That actually turned out great. I'm excited about this one. Sup. Alright, so now that we have them supported, essentially what I've done, let's go ahead and move these guys up here. I haven't really prepped them for printing. I've just updated the STL file that we're going to use. The next thing I need to do is I need to run it through my slicer. And this is actually going to take the model that we've made and this guy right here. I'm using a Photon Zero, so it has a special custom version of Jitterbox called Photon Workshop. And this is going to take the models and slice them into different layers. So what we'll do is we'll grab all of the supported ones. We'll drop them on here, spread them out. You should be able to easily fit 3 models on here. Make sure none of them are overlapping and bumping into each other. I think we're okay. Those two are touching at the base, but that's actually fine. That doesn't cause a problem. And so this will slice it down into the different layers. I'm printing it Anycubic Gray. It costs me about $20 a bottle. And so this will like tell you how much resin it intends to use, and I think it gives you the cost too. So let's go ahead and slice it, and we'll call it Tieflings, T-I-E, and Ranger. And we'll put that on the desktop. Oh, so it's going to take 4 hours and take 15 milliliters, 15 and a half milliliters. You can preview it. I don't normally. This shows you, like, it actually takes that model and slices this into different pictures. These are all just image files slapped together into a special zip folder or zip file. And so this is the image that it's going to flash on the 3D printer screen every time it cures a layer. It's like a photosensitive, UV sensitive resin. And so it just flashes each of these layers. And then stitches them all together, which is kind of cool. And if you ever read any books that deal with two-dimensional beings like Flat World, or what was the other one, The Boy Who Reversed Himself, that talks about two-dimensional creatures interacting with three-dimensional creatures, or three-dimensional creatures interacting with four-dimensional creatures. Like, this is how a 3D object would look to a two-dimensional creature. It would just be like a slice of where it intersects with their two-dimensional world. Kind of weird. Sci-fi stuff. Alright, I am going to pause the channel for a second. And, let me see here. I'm going to go pop this into the printer and get it running real quick. Let me do my audio, because I didn't put that on there. And I'll be right back. Okay. Oops. I didn't want to put that in there. I want to put that into my characters folder. All right. Let's do some painting. Oops, sorry about that. Just adjusting my mic here. I'm going to mute it for a second so I don't blow your ears out. There we go. All right. So we got 2 minis to paint tonight. We're probably only going to get through to one of them. Let's go ahead and spin you around. Gotta hydrate. All right, what do you guys think? Last time we painted the Halfling Rouge, and now we have the half-Orc Paladin and the half-Elf Druid. I think we said we were gonna paint Feyre tonight. So let's do her. Alright, do we have a reference image? I'm pretty sure we do. I'm pretty sure that you put one in the chat. Or the text group, rather. And I'm pretty sure I grabbed it too. Let me pull it out of my... So I always keep a folder on my desktop called Sort Me. And every once in a while when my desktop gets cluttered, I just like drag everything into the Sort Me folder so I can sort it later. I don't sort it later. It's so full of junk. I sort it maybe like once a year. But I recently did that, and I think it's in here. Let's sort by date modified. Yeah, there we are. Reference image. Where is it? This looks like her. And whoever took that picture needs to charge their phone. Yeah, this is one of the characters. This is Feyre. She is a half-elf druid. So it looks like we've got brown and green on the boots. dark brown cane. I think this model... I think this is doing... Like, I think this is supposed to be like a hood. But I believe it will pass pretty well as hair. What do you think, Jordan? Do you want it, would you prefer it painted with a hood on, like a cloak? Or for her to have, like, the long blonde hair? Oh, that's from your phone. Sorry, I thought it was just like a screenshot that you pulled off the internet. I didn't realize that was a screen capture. But yeah, would you prefer to have that like a cloak? Or would you prefer that to like a hood on the cloak there? Or would you prefer that to be your hair? Because I think it could really be either. Well, actually, no. The way the hair curls underneath there. Okay, let's do a cloak. Alright, and in that image, it looks like, at least like around her neck, it's brown. And so I think the cloak in that image is brown. So she's got like green clothes and a brown cloak. Okay. Tan pants. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Pull out our trusty number 8 brush. I'm gonna grab the same one that I used last night. And I need something to put my brush on. I don't think I washed enough of the soap off last night when I cleaned my brush. It's all stiff. Yeah. Alright, so some of these paints separated. See, that was like all over. That's... Well, we'll just do our best. So we need a brown. A nice dark brown. And we're going to need a nice green. So we use this as the deep green. And then we'll use this goblin green as a lighter green to kind of mix it up a little bit. This stuff separates really bad. It like gets yellow with like deep dark. See, like that right there. It's supposed to look like that. It separates really bad. Yeah, sorry, we're getting a little bit alike. I'm not sure what happened with that. I think a lot of folks in my family are probably streaming videos right about now, using a lot of the internet bandwidth. I've got a decent downstream, but my upstream isn't that great. I've only got like 10, 20 megs up. Alright, and then for skin, let's go ahead and just do bone white again. She looks pretty fair-skinned. And then let's use some leather brown. We'll use that for like her leggings and the edge, the fur and stuff. And then her hair, let's do sun yellow, and then we'll put like a dark brown wash on it to kind of dirty it up. Alright, so what do you want to do first? Let's do... do the leggings first, and then we'll do the tunic. Actually, let's water this down a fuzz. So half-elves are pretty cool. They're kind of like children lost between two worlds. Not entirely accepted by the humans and not entirely accepted by the elves. Because elves are kind of like special. They think very highly of themselves. And so humans are kind of like, oh, you know, they think they're an elf. They're all, you know, fancy and too good for us humans. But then the elves are like, oh, it's a half-breed, you know, they're not all elf. And, you know, elves, since they're kind of like all high and mighty on themselves, it's like, what did some elf have to do to breed with a human? You know, like that's just kind of like, why did they settle for a creature that's only going to live 80 years when the elves themselves live upwards of like 300-400 years? So they kind of get caught in between two worlds. But they're really good mechanic-wise. They get a lot of the cool stuff from the elves. I believe they get dark vision. And I think they also get the resistances. Like elves they can't be put to sleep magically. I believe half-elves get that as well. Alright, what else we got? Got like her bracer. Is the camera focusing okay? Can you see it all right? I was watching my video yesterday just to try to learn from it a little bit, and I've discovered that when I talk to you guys, I turn towards the chat, and when I do that, I move away from my mic and it gets really quiet, so I'm having to kind of like remind myself to stay up here. It's kind of weird. You never think about that until you actually do it. All right, let's do her green. And we'll do this on the tunic and on the boots. This is very thick paint. I'm gonna have to water this one down as well. But this is also apple barrel paint, which means if I do, it's probably not gonna cover super duper well. All right, this is going on these little covers on her boots. I really like this model. It's very simple, and it's not like very busy. Sometimes models can get like a lot of crazy detail, like that picture there. If you look on, oh goodness, that refrigerator image is so small on the stream. I think I shrunk the window and it shrunk it on here. There. That's better. But if you notice, like on her knees, there's like some patches and stuff. Some people will like model the patch onto the model, and I mean it's kind of neat. But when the models are this small, you are not gonna see it. You just definitely aren't. And so for features like that, I like to paint that kind of stuff on when I feel like it. Instead of like having a model on there. All right, let's go on her tunic. You guys see the model okay? Is it big enough? You want me to zoom the camera in? This music is so chill. I think the zenithal highlight on her worked really well too. She's got some really nice, like, not what you think I mean, but she's got some really nice curves. Like there's a nice curvature to the model that that creates some interesting overhangs for the shadows to fall against, and that works really well with this zenithal highlight. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. It almost looks like she's got one long sleeve here too, and I think that's kind of interesting. I think I'm going to roll with that. Give her one long sleeve, and then the other one's kind of like a short sleeve. Yeah, I think that looks cool. Yeah, I think that white has gotten too runny. This was the peach from yesterday, I believe. Let's see. Let's do her cape next. Actually, I lied. Let's do her boots. Because I think for her cape, I want to lighten that brown up a little bit. So we'll put the full dark brown on her boots. And then we'll put a lighter version. We'll probably mix some of this leather in with it. Yeah, I think that's looking good. Oh, you know what? I wanted to use some of this brown, this dark brown on that wood staff too. Little shepherd's crook. I might do some edge highlighting on this crook to make it stand out a little bit more. But I think we have like a nice cohesive palette. I think the colors are working really well together. We'll go ahead and make her little leather pouch this dark brown too. So one of the things about druids is, like with their nature stuff, they hate metal. I'm pretty sure that that is correct. That, like, metal is, like, opposed to nature. Because I'm pretty sure a druid can wield a shield, but it has to be a wood shield. When you guys want to fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Which is kind of interesting. Actually, I'm curious. I want to take a look. Druid class. Druids. They have proficiency in light armor, medium armor, and shields, and druids will not wear armor or use shields made of metal. So it includes armor too. Metal belongs under the ground. Alright, so let's take a little bit of this brown. Let's mix it with the leather. Let's see how that looks. Looks like the leather is just taking over. It needs to be darker. Nope. Needs to be darker still. So druids are pretty cool. They are one of the two classes that know all of their spells. Normally classes will, they'll like, as they level up, they learn more spells, and then they can, you know, use those spells in game. Druids know all of their spells, but every morning they prepare a few. They kind of have to sit down and meditate and think about which spells they want to use today, because they only, like, spells are complicated, and you kind of have to commit them to memory for the day. And so every morning. Night, Lucrum. Thanks for hanging out, man. Enjoy your work tomorrow. So yeah, they prepare their spells like in the morning. They kind of sit down and memorize their spells for the day. So you have a lot of spells to choose from. And the more you level up, the more that you can have prepared at a time. And that's kind of the way that it scales and grows and stuff. But they have really good spells. The other really cool thing about druids is that they can do what's called a wild shape. They can transform and morph into a animal. And you can only do it so many times a day, depending upon your level. And I think it lasts up to like an hour per level. So like a level 1 character can maintain a wild shape for 1 hour. Second level character can like 2 hours, I believe it is. And it's really cool. And there's like a limitation on how strong of a creature you can wild shape into. There's also some restrictions on, like, you know, you can't immediately wild shape into something that can fly or swim. Like, that comes with time. Oops. But they're really cool. They're really useful when you like are trying to sneak up on somebody or listen in on a conversation, and so your druid wild shapes into a spider and crawls across the roof and peeps in on them. And one of the nice things too, because there's spells like polymorph that let you turn into creatures and do that kind of stuff, but with the druid you get to keep your intelligence essentially. So like when a wizard turns into a spider, they have the intelligence of a spider, and so they might not remember what they were doing or what their plan was and whatnot. But a druid retains all of their mental, essentially your wisdom, your charisma, and your intelligence, but then they take on the physical attributes of the creature. Super duper handy, and because of that, druids, even though they might be like frail of frame, can be very, very strong physical combatants, because they can just like turn into a bear 3 times, and so you got to find a bear, and once the enemy knocks all of the bear's hit points down to 0, you turn back into your druid self, you revert form, and you can wild shape again, and it's almost like a free heal, and you just get back into the fray and beat him to a pulp, because you're a cool druid. So druids are really handy. It can get really complicated when you're like trying to keep track of all the statistics, because essentially of the creatures, because essentially you're going to need like a character sheet for each creature. There's a great app, and I think I already sent it to you, Jordan. I don't remember what it's called. It's called like Druid 5e Wild Shape or something like that. The icon is like a green square with some slashes through it, and it just has like all the stat blocks for all of the creatures that you can wild shape into. You just punch in your druid level and it says which ones you can wild shape into. It's super duper handy. My wife actually played a half-elf druid in her game, in our last game that we played together as a family, and she kind of modeled her her character after King David, and he was like a shepherd. So she was like a shepherdess out to like, one with the land type thing. And she was pretty strong. Her name was Feyre Pedal. She was a really cool character. I miss playing that game, or DMing that game rather. Let's get some skin on her skin. I've never played a druid, but I'd like to, because they're a really cool class. But they are unfortunately one of the more complicated classes, because their spells are prepared. Like, all your spells, so you kind of have to juggle through and decide which ones you want. And spells can be really, spells are one of the cooler parts of D&D, just because it lets you break the game. It lets you fly, it lets you turn into somebody else, change your image so that you look like somebody else and you can impersonate them, or create fires, or see invisibility, or turn invisible and stuff. It's a lot of really neat stuff. But spells, because they are so, they're not game breaking because the game is like balanced, but like they break the reality. They're very detailed in their descriptions, and using spells correctly can be very complicated. Also very rewarding. Like, I kind of don't like to play not spellcasters in D&D, just because spells are so much fun. It's so cool to be able to, like, a situation arises and you're like, oh man, I have a spell for that. We're getting outgunned and surrounded, and I'll just, cast darkness in a 30-foot sphere, create a smoke bomb, and everybody can like escape through that. But druids are really cool. Druids also have some really cool subclasses. If you're not familiar with subclasses, every class has like a specialization. Hello, Academy Impossible. didn't see you in here. So if you're not familiar with subclasses, because this is kind of like a D&D newbie channel, every class has a couple subclasses, and you can kind of like specialize. Oh goodness gracious, that's not a word. You can kind of specialize within your class. And so in the player's handbook, which is like the basic D&D rulebook, there's druids are a part of what are called circles, druidic circles. And there's the circle of the moon, and what's the other one? Isn't it like the circle of... It's the circle of life. Circle of the land. And the land one is like more spell-based. But the circle of the moon is almost like, you know, it's moon-related in kind of like the way that, you know, werewolves are moon-related. It kind of gives you better wild shape stuff. You get to wild shape into more complicated creatures sooner. You can get to flying creatures and swimming creatures sooner. So if you want to really focus on the wild shape part of druids, then you want to join the Circle of the Moon. And if you want to get more into like the spell casting side, you can do the Circle of the Land. And you know, there's more expansions beyond that in the other books. Xanathar's adds a couple. Xanathar's Guide to Everything has a couple. But I was talking to one of my friends the other day about D&D content, and there's just a lot. And whenever the new book comes out, like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything recently came out, or semi-recently came out, and he was like, "Are you gonna get it? You gonna get it?" It's got a lot of really cool class features in there, and a lot of really cool new stuff. And it is, admittedly, a lot of really cool stuff. But I was telling him, you know, I haven't played everything in the original books that we have. And I've kind of decided a little while ago that I'm not really going to buy any more books until I kind of get out of the ones that I have some good playtime. I mean, if somebody else wants to, like, you know, get another book and bring some content in from that, I'm not going to stop them or anything like that. You know, that's silly. I don't want to halt anybody's fun. But, like, I haven't played all the classes, and I kind of feel like when you add the extra stuff, it kind of removes, you know, it's I think it's called power creep is the game design term, where like the new stuff is so good that mechanically speaking you'd be dumb to pick the old stuff, but it's like I wanna play some of the old stuff. You know, I want the old stuff to be viable. But I don't want to poo-poo on anybody's parade. You know, if they're excited about the new stuff and if they've already played all the old stuff, you know, that's cool. They got something new to play. But I don't want to just be like buying books for the sake of books, and then never get to play that stuff anyway. I already got. I mean, I have Mordenkainen's, and I've got Volo's, and I've got a bunch of the books. And it wasn't until recently that I stopped. Like, I was even buying up adventures, and I'm like, John, come on, man. You know, if you're gonna play a campaign, like a full-on campaign, it's gonna take you a year. I mean, how many books does Wizards of the Coast release in a year? And I can't even get through them in a year. So it's like moderation, you know? I'm all about things being table ready, and I'm all about having fun. And if you're just getting into D&D, the 3 core rulebooks of 5th edition, you know, the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual, there is an insane amount of content in those books. Like, I mean, I've run games for a number of years now, and I haven't used maybe 1/8 of the monsters in the Monster Manual. There's like so many monsters in there that I could just like straight up use. And oftentimes when I'm like needing inspiration, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know what to. Goodness, I just dropped that. I don't know what to, pit my. I don't know what monster would fit in this scenario, or what would be good for my players to fight. I'll just browse the monster manual. And I'm like, dang, I didn't even know that monster was in the monster manual. And again, I get it. There's a lot of really cool monsters in the other ones, but just don't feel like you have to. Is essentially, I guess, my point. You should never feel like you have to, because you can have just as much fun with the good old core rule books. I was going to put a belt buckle on this belt, but if druids are opposed to metal, it'd probably be more like a leather clasp or something, or like a just tied off. So I think I'm just going to like paint some brown on there instead of metal. She's really shaping up. Look at that. Pretty cool. I like her. Did I miss anything? Doesn't look like it. Let's go ahead and paint her base. For those of you new to the channel, to the stream, I like to do just straight black bases. I used to paint colored fancy bases with flocking and all of that jazz, and they're just a lot of work, and I feel like they add to the model, no doubt, but I don't feel like they add enough to the model to justify it. And once you add a base, it's like, you put grass on a base, and now that mini looks weird when it's not on grass, like grassy terrain. And you're like, well, if it's got grass and they're in a cave, that's probably fine. But like if they're in snow, that looks weird. Or if they're in snow and you put them on grass, that looks weird. Or like if you're inside of an inn and it's all snowy on there. Yeah, it's just my preference. And I should have just used some fresh black because that looks horrible. Stuff got way too diluted. Let's put it under the fan for a second. D&D is so much fun. I honestly think it's like Matt Colville says, it's the most fun you can have with your brain. I enjoy video games, but if video games happened to go away, I'd be fine. And if you knew me, that'd be saying a lot because I really like video games. I don't know, lately I've just been really liking to be unplugged. Probably comes from working in the IT industry. That when you work in front of a screen and your hobbies are in front of a screen, it's not really great for your health. And then you just end up spending all of your time sedentary in front of a screen. Now granted, it's not like, you're jumping around when you're playing D, but I don't know, man. There are times, like, every single D&D game that I've played, at least when I used to play in person at a table, when it was all said and done, I would be tired, sweating, just like I've been out working or something in the yard. It's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like being having all your faculties engaged, or maybe I am more animated than I think. You know, waving my arms around or something. But, whew, D&D is exhausting. Maybe it's just the brain working overtime or something. All that imagination. But yeah, man. D&D is... I'm tired after a game of D&D. But the good kind of tired. Alright, let's set that on there. Let that dry for a second before we start putting the washes on. What are we at? We're at an hour and 49. I'm going to go ahead and use some of this black here and just paint the base on Mr. Half-Orc Boy. Paladins are cool. Half-Orcs are cool too. I had a Half-Orc Paladin in my home game. His name was... Oh, it was that Fang. That Fang for scale that we used, that model. He was pretty rad. He was a verdant knight. A green knight, sworn to the oath of ancients. The paladins subclasses are oaths that they swear, and they have like a code that they have to upkeep. And they're melee classes, so they like, you know, swing swords and stuff like that. But they also get some spells. But one of the cool things about them, their spells aren't incredibly crazy, and they don't get a lot of spell slots to cast them with, but they can use their spell slots to not cast a spell, but rather to dump that magical energy into their weapon and do what's called a smite, where they just bring like the holy rage down on somebody and smash them. And it's so broken and it's so fun, because you can declare whether you're using a smite or not after you hit. So one of the paladin's oldies but goldies is to wait till you get a critical hit, and when you get a critical hit, you dump like your max level spell slot in as a smite, and you just do tons of damage, and you just like explode people. It's so cool. It's so fun. But that's it. I like broken stuff. I like giving people time to be cool, because it's like, I mean, if you're not going to do cool stuff, then why are you even playing D&D? D&D is supposed to be, you're supposed to do cool stuff when you play D&D. All right, let's, I'm going to put her eyes on after we wash her. Yeah. Let's do a screenshot real quick. Good pose. There we go. I'll give that to the adventure text group. All right, wash time. Time to do some washes. All right, so let's put her cape is already very dark. Let's put some Nuln Oil on her cape. And let's put some Biltan green on the green parts. We'll do some Agrax Earthshade on the leather. Actually, you know what? Let's do some Seraphim Sepia on the leather. And let's do some Reichland Flesh Shade on her skin. Because she's not fair-skinned, is she? Yeah, she's got some color on her. We'll do some Reichland Flesh Shade on her. And then we'll do the Seraphim Sepia on her hair too. Alright, so let's do her skin first. I won't be able to stay up too late tomorrow, but I do hope to stream a little bit tomorrow and get started on cleaning up and priming those minis that we supported tonight. There's her face. And washes are magic. Every little single wash is magic. Wish I could play guitar like this. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this isn't that hard because it's just a solo. It's the composition of the two guitars together that makes it sound a bit more complicated. It's nice and chill though. Yeah, look at that. Nice peach color. Go healthy skin. Of course she's got healthy skin. She's a druid. She's out in nature. She don't hang out in the cities. She hangs out in the woods and the fields. Nice. All right. We'll hold off on her hair because we don't want the wash on her face to dry. I mean, to be wet and then like start wicking into the one that we'll put on her hair. So we'll let that dry first. Let's do like her boots. You know what? Let's do the green. No. Let's do her pants. That's nice and isolated. Isolated. going on a little thick. Put it on our bracer too. Yeah. All right, let's break out the Null Oil. Let's get the rest of the boots and the cape. Let's see how it brings out the folds. If you do want it thick so that it really darkens things down, you do need to be mindful of which direction that you're holding the mini, because it will drip. And so you might not want... Sometimes if you get the little pawns right where you want them, and you're worried that they might run down, sometimes I'll like get it right where I want it, and then I'll hold it there, and blow on it. Or maybe like put it under the fan for a little bit, let it dry, because it dries relatively quick, not super duper duper quick, but at least you'll get like the thin parts to dry pretty quickly. Yeah, that's turning out good. Let's put some on her staff, and again. This is just to, like this, there aren't any crevices on the staff to pond up on and to create shadow. This is just to give it that smooth texture, so it doesn't look chalky and out of place. Man, I keep bumping the mic. I hope that's not coming through. I bet it is. I'm gonna fix this real quick. Testing 1 2. Yeah, that's better. I'll bust the cable. Or bump the cable. Alright, let's see here. Now I just need to do the green and her hair. Let's do her hair next, since it looks pretty dry around the edges of her hair. But it's not dry around the edges of the green. Now the green that I use is kind of a dark, dingy pine green. This stuff is more of a bluish green. And so by putting this on here, if you're new to, I don't know if it's color theory, but just like how light and color works, light is typically, or lighter spots are typically warmer. So more on the reddish side of things. Like this green here, it's more like a yellowy green. That's on the redder side of it. It's good for highlighting. This green, not this green. This green is more like on the blue side of green. It's good for shadows, because shadows are out of the sun, and they typically have the light of the blue sky, the light that's reflecting from the sky off of a surface and up under. So shadows tend to be bluer, but like the sun is a more warmer light. It's more yellowy-ish, and so things that are in direct sunlight are more yellowy. They're warmer colors. So you want your highlights warm and your shadows cool. So since we're doing, this is kind of like a darker green, and this wash is a bit more on the blue side, it should make for good shadows. Also, it's going to take that kind of muted pine green and make it more rich. And I think she needs more saturation in her colors. I think her colors are too earth tone. They're too dull. I'd love to make money at this. And like be able to pay my bills with it. Man, that'd be a dream. It's not about that. I really like having a collection. Somebody was asking me if I would like sell my minis. And like outside of copyright issues from the models that I use. I don't know, I like all my minis. Like every mini that I have, I got for, I didn't buy it, it's not like an impulse purchase. Every mini that I have, for the most part, I was actually given some when I first started. I printed and I made and I painted, and so it's like my whole collection is, for the most part, ones that I wanted. I wanted goblins, so I searched around online and I found some good goblins, and I printed those goblins and painted those goblins how I wanted them. And I've used those goblins in stories and stuff. And, so. It's got a lot of sentimental value. Alright, Seraphim Sepia. Not to be confused with Cherubim Sepia. Y'all are quiet. All right, let's see. Yeah. See, it just takes that super bright sunflower yellow. Just rub some healthy coat of dirt and brown roots on it. It's just really, really nice. Just makes it look like real hair, not like a Crayola color book. I think we're done, y'all. I think that's it. I think that's her. You know what she looks like? You know what she reminds me of? She reminds me of like a female Link. And I love it. Link's my boy. It's my jam. I'm gonna put a little bit more black on that base because that is super mottled and nasty looking. Let's get some good black. I don't even think I'm gonna dry brush her. I think that she looks great as it is. I think dry brushing is just gonna make her look dusty. Yes. I like her. Let's put it in front of the fan for a bit. What time we got? 11:30. 11:30 p.m. I got a little time. Let's say we do a little bit on him tonight. Oh, snap, we didn't take a screenshot of her. Oh, and we didn't do her eyes. What in the world am I thinking? Get back in there, half-orc. I need to do her eyes. Okay, we'll let her dry because she's still wet around the hair. We'll pull the orc out. We'll work on him just a little bit. I don't think... Jordan, I don't think that your husband gave me a color scheme for this half-orc. If he wants to find a picture that I can use as a reference image, that would be fantastic. If he wants to leave it up to me, I'm cool with that too. I can do it, but he's not allowed to complain if I do. I will make him pink, and he will be the most glorious pink half-orc that ever was. Half-orcs are typically gray or green, typically, but you really make them whatever you want. There we go. Let me text Drew real quick. See what he wants. Green it is. Alright, let's see if I can mess this girl's eyes up. There's our black blob. That is not dried. I'm excited to get these minis done and to be able to play this game. Paint keeps drying. I wonder if this paint is too watered down too. I need to put a little bit more. Here's our white blobs. Alright, then the final black blob. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. So tiny. That's not bad. Went too thick on the left eye. I think that's pretty good. Oh no, I'm getting artsy-fartsy and greedy. I'm gonna end up messing it up. But you gotta do it, or you'll go insane. I didn't mess it up. Oh man, that's great. Can't get it to focus. Yeah, I think she looks good. She doesn't look cross-eyed, which is great, because normally they all look cross-eyed. Awesome. She's done. We got 2 party members now. See, I think the black base just looks nice. It looks smooth. Put a screenshot. Now I'm starting to wonder if I'm going to be able to get all these painted by Thursday when we play. It's already 11:49, and I need to stop for the night. Well, thank you for joining me. I had a bunch of fun painting these guys. Hope you had fun watching. I don't have a set schedule on when I paint or when I make stuff. That's something that I'd like to work on in the future and just have some regularity. So if you want to get notified the next time I stream, you'll just have to follow along and wait for the notifications and stuff like that. Hopefully I'll get something set up where I can like post it to my socials and all that fancy stuff. But really, I'm just trying to have fun right now. So I'm not kind of into that stuff right yet. So follow along if you want, and we'll see you guys next time.